DX Central Live is brought to you in part by Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. From the pages of its DX Monitor Member Bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the Gulf South
To your corner of the world.
this is DX Central Live.
Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana. Good evening, my friends, and hopefully a great week of DX for you, and a great night ahead of us tonight for some DX. We actually have a clear sky, and I'm talking about not just over Mandeville, I'm talking like the whole Gulf of Mexico. There is not a lightning bolt to be found. Praise be. So we might actually have a chance to do some cool DX tonight. Very much looking forward to that. What has been going on this week in DX? We had some really rough conditions this week. We had another solar storm that hit late this week. We had the Gulf of Mexico turning into a science experiment with all the lightning down there. There was actually one morning or one overnight period this week. There was an area off the coast of the Keys in Florida, or right off the Florida coast, that had over 4,000 lightning strikes in a short period of time. It was crazy. So we had that to deal with. And thanks, Bill. Good to know. Good audio, good skies, good start. Nice. Thanks, man. Thanks for confirming for me. So yeah, I think we might have some good DX heading our way after just rough conditions. Now, I will say this. Last night was the best night of conditions that I've had this week. And I had some things last night that came in. Jacob was there in the Slack channel with me when I was doing some DX last night. I had some stuff come in last night that was just primo, absolutely just wonderful. And so we'll be talking about that a little later on. Of course, we got your shout outs to get to tonight, so I want to make sure that we do that and get to what you guys have been hearing. So we're going to actually drop that link here. Let me triple check before I do this again. Make sure, okay, I got the right link. There we go. There you go. Shout out link is now in the chat. So you guys go ahead and submit your shout outs for the week. New countries, new states, new logs in general, Canadian provinces, Mexican states, Louisiana stations, Wisconsin stations, new goals that you hit. And we're talking AM, we're talking FM, because guess what? FM season is here. It's just around the corner, and I'm gonna prove to you the FM season is here. At least for some of us. E-skip season is still probably a month or two away. So sometime in the next 30 to 45 days, maybe we might start seeing some e-skip kind of trickling in for a couple of folks and trickling in for a couple more folks before it really starts getting ramped up. Hopefully, I'm hope I'm not jinxing us here. I'm really hoping we have some good e-skip season this year, but FM season is going to be starting for some of us here very, very, very soon. We're going to talk about that. It already has, actually, for some folks up northeast. They were getting some amazing tropo conditions. You'll pry that tropo out of my cold dead hands. I know it's tropo. I know it's tropospheric, whatever. Tropo. The tropo has already started for some folks up in the northeast around Pennsylvania and New York, up along the eastern seaboard and the northeast. They were getting some good conditions recently, so what about the rest of us? When are we going to start seeing that? We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about a technique that I am actually about to employ myself. I'm going to, now that we have our big bad CAS antenna, the north-south CAS antenna pointing down 150 degrees down into South America and Central America on our Kiwi SDR. The thing is an absolute beast. I'm so happy with how it's turned out. Well, now it's time to start getting some use out of it in a big way and getting some good results. So we're going to be doing some specific targeting of stations and countries that we need to get in the logbook that aren't there yet. Specifically looking at like Uruguay, Paraguay, Brazil, Bolivia, Chile. I want to get these last couple of South American countries left that we don't have in the logbook. I want to get those in and maybe fluff out some of the ones and get more interior stuff into Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, things like that. We've got those countries, but we want some more interior stuff off the coastline. So we're putting together a list of target stations. I'm going to teach you the technique that I'm going to be using for that and how you can also participate and do that yourself. If you're ever wanting to target a particular country or particular region or whatever it might be, we're going to teach you how to do that using some online free resources that are available. And so there you go. We got to finish up our medium wave frequency challenge frequencies this week. So we'll be getting those wrapped up, the 650 to 680. It's been a tough sledding. Down there this week. Conditions as well as just tough pulling anything out. I'm pretty happy with the 16 that I got. I mean, that's like half of what I've been getting most other weeks, but I'm pretty happy with 16 considering how little there really is there. There's not a lot to hear on this frequency range. It's the lowest potential station count of any of the weeks we've done this year or will be doing. From here on out, it's going to be just straight up. Also, one of the things that I'll be talking about tonight, probably in our second hour, is some spring cleaning type stuff, getting your shack ready, whether it be for transitioning out of AM season to FM season. I know some of you do that. I don't endorse that deal. I'm a FM and AM DX or whenever it's here. So I DX AM year round when I have the opportunity. But there is some spring cleaning that we can do to our antennas, to our gear, to our logbooks, to our just our overall DX universe that we live in. I'll be doing a remodel of the shack again, kind of version 2.1 or 2.2 or whatever you want to call it. Maybe 3.0, I don't know versions. I'll be doing a new version of the shack here as we wrap up DXC Live for this season, which will be coming up May 3rd. We have 5 episodes left after tonight. So after we get that wrapped up, we'll be tearing everything down, taking everything out of the shack. That's when the e-skip will probably start pouring in. You watch, because I'll have everything torn down. And we're going to be remodeling and cleaning and doing a bunch of stuff in here in the shack and doing some new lighting and different things like that. So we'll talk a bit about some of the thought process that I have going into that and what I'm going to be doing to kind of get ready for it. And what you guys might want to look at doing for your own shack and your own setup as we get into now FM season and then getting ready for the next AM hardcore season coming up here in the fall. So of course, like I said, your shout outs, things like that, we'll get into those couple rounds as we usually like to do. One thing I did want to touch on really quick before we get to our first top of the hour alert of the night. We have baseball season started this week, starts this week. And so some folks might be asking about the Grand Slam challenge that we did last year. We've run into a couple of roadblocks, I'll say, this year, getting it where I didn't want to just roll out the same thing we did last year. That was a alpha beta version of what we want to do. So if we're going to do it, I want to do it based on the feedback that we got from everybody and the things that we wanted to do. I want to do this right before we actually just do it. So, I mean, feel free to do your own research and digging in and DXing
using the information that's still up on the website. You can still use the affiliate list that's up there to help kind of guide you. That's not going anywhere. You can still log in on the Grand Slam Challenge website. Use the affiliate list so you can go ahead and use that in your DX adventures. I'm not going to take that down. But as far as like submitting logs for the challenge itself, we're looking at probably doing that a little later in the baseball season because we need more time to get this where it needs to be. And my hope is that once that happens, then this will just be something that just kind of is just a rinse and repeat every year. I hope that's what I want. Kind of like what we've got now with the frequency challenge. I feel like that's now into a reproducible state where it's just rinse and repeat every week, and every season we might tweak it a little bit, but it's going to be basically the same thing moving forward for the challenge. Same thing on the Grand Slam Challenge. I want to make sure that we get that in a spot where it is going to be just absolutely perfect for you guys. So having said that, we'll be announcing that on social media and so forth here pretty soon. Guess what, guys? Top of the hour time frame. So we're gonna hit that top of the hour alert. Got something new for you this week. For our top of the hour alert, we got a new feature to our top of the hour. What is it? We've got the roving light here. Look at this guy. You go along with Bill's sirens. We got our own little siren here in the shack. So you're gonna see the flashing light here as we go along. Let me see if I can get that in the shot here. Probably not. Anyway, let's go ahead and do a tour of the shack and get you around here of the radios that we'll be using. On screen right now, we have our Perseus. This has got two Superloops right now. We are on the southeast Superloop, 125 degrees. This is a 20 by 97 foot Superloop, pointing pretty much, like I said, southeast, 125 degrees. Now, let's go over here and look at the beast. This is the Kiwi SDR2, and this sucker, it's so nice. It's a 26 by 72 foot CAS antenna, elevated 10 feet off the ground, and fed with a FLG100LN like all our Superloops are. This one's also fed with the FLG100LN. It's terminated with a variable resistor, and it is pointing at 150 degrees. Very nice into Central and South America, and has been performing really, really well with quieter conditions this week. And we also still have our AirSpy HF Plus Discovery here with the SDR Sharp software. And with that one, we have another one of our Superloops. This one is a 15 by 195. That's wrong. That's not 105. It's 195. And that right now is at the 195 degree orientation. Let's go ahead and start, though, with the beast. Let's go ahead and start with that Kiwi and see what we have looking down south on our frequency range from this last week, 650 to 680. Let's start with 650 and see what's going on. And we hit unmute. And we went way, way off the range. Now let's go back to 650. This 5-key sticks for some reason. There we go. Well, thanks, Rick. I saw some folks online social media talking about using it for listening to WYLD in stereo, which I heartily endorse. Sounds like we got a station that would be Progresso. So it sounds like Progresso is here on 650 under where WSM will be eventually. Yep, that's who that is. 660, what we got?
Hotel o renta vacacional, recuerda ser responsable con el consumo de agua y energía. Apaga las luces del aire acondicionado al salir de la habitación y reutiliza las huellas para contribuir al cuidado del medio ambiente. Si el lugar cuenta con una caja de seguridad, toma tus precauciones y guarda tus pertenencias. Verifica la seguridad del lugar y no pierdas de vista tus llaves.
Huh.
SDR
Las noticias de Quintana Roo.
La mayor cobertura con una red de corresponsales
En los 11 municipios.
Enlace
SQCS. Esperemos que usted, desde donde le esté pasando en estos días, para muchos de asueto, esté en calma, esté tranquilo. Si usted salió a vacacionar, pues hágalo de manera responsable y moderada. Cuando vuelva a casa, lo que esperamos es tener, pues, la menor afectación posible durante este periodo. Pero vamos a conocer las condiciones del clima para todavía los que ustedes estén deseando, bueno, pues, salir o tengan algún plan para el fin de semana. Y por principio, como lo acostumbrado, vamos al pronóstico del tiempo.
Pronóstico del clima.
Y esta noche nos acompaña Greta El Cajún de la Comisión Nacional del Agua para darnos todos los pormenores. Te escuchamos, Greta.
Him and Jeff have both been kind of MIA this week, or this year, this season.
Del tiempo para el día de hoy, viernes, y para lo que resta este fin de semana, pues se prevén condiciones de cielo parcialmente nublado, no se prevén lluvias.
A couple of our folks from last season have been not as kind of frequent stopper buyers.
Número 42 nos estará dejando un ambiente ligeramente más fresco durante la madrugada y el amanecer, las temperaturas mínimas oscilando entre los 6 hasta los 22 grados Celsius, un ambiente bastante fresco para lo que es este fin de semana, y las temperaturas máximas calurosas entre los 30 y 34 grados Celsius.
Radio Chan Santa Cruz, right?
Debido a que también tenemos
I
todavía
guess.
vientos dominantes del norte-noreste, alcanzando rachas a de los 40 kilómetros por hora hacia las zonas costeras. Así que bueno, sigan disfrutando de este ambiente bastante agradable, porque de nueva cuenta retorna el intenso calor para este inicio de semana. Un saludo.
Y bueno, le agradecemos a la Comisión Nacional del Agua y al Servicio Meteorológico
I didn't hear
Nacional
a top of the hour ID on them,
a lo largo de toda la semana y en este día.
unless they did it earlier before we switched to 660.
¿Cuál es la
Or I might have missed it when I thought I heard the click of the siren on the antenna that's across the street down here, around the corner.
Ahora vamos en la urbana.
Enlace urbano.
Y nuestro compañero Gabriel Alcocer nos ha preparado algunas recomendaciones de seguridad para estas vacaciones, para que usted la pase de la mejor manera. Y bueno, pues escuchemos el siguiente reporte.
En plena temporada de vacaciones de Semana Santa, las corporaciones policíacas y de emergencia mantienen una serie de recomendaciones para la prevención de hechos delictivos y posibles accidentes, principalmente en las carreteras y playas, además del reforzamiento de los operativos de vigilancia que realiza la Secretaría de Seguridad Ciudadana de Quintana Roo. La corporación estatal recomienda diferentes medidas de prevención para quienes utilizan las carreteras. La Secretaría
What's going on, man? Welcome. Glad to have you here, man.
de medidas preventivas para evitar accidentes, como el mantenerse atento al conducir y evitar distracciones como el uso del teléfono celular, el consumo de alimentos, la búsqueda de objetos y el fumar o beber al momento de conducir. Dentro de los mecanismos para brindar ayuda, el director del Cuerpo de Bomberos, Aquileo Cervantes, indicó que instalaron 2 puestos carreteros en ambas entradas de la ciudad de Cancún.
Chan Santa Cruz. They also do a lot of talk about Radio Chetumal on here as well.
Que nosotros colocamos el dispositivo
I've noticed.
para darle la atención a los vacacionistas para cualquier tipo de situación que se llegue a dar, ¿no? Que se presente. Tenemos unidades de rescate que son personal especializado.
I mean, it's just down a little further down the coastline, I guess.
Con paramédicos, extracción vehicular en dado caso que se llegue a dar un accidente, ¿no?
De esta manera, la Secretaría de Seguridad Ciudadana recomienda el uso del cinturón de seguridad, mantener siempre la vista en la carretera, viajar sin prisas y planear la ruta. Además, simplemente llevar a revisión los vehículos para prevenir cualquier inconveniente y disminuir el riesgo de tener un accidente. Por otra parte, la Policía Estatal también mantiene la difusión de medidas para evitar posibles robos durante las vacaciones y por ese motivo, para tener compras seguras, recomienda prestar atención al entorno, tener a la mano la cartera o el teléfono. De esta manera la corporación recomienda el cuidado de las pertenencias y estar alerta cuando se realice algún pago con tarjeta, además de evitar dejar objetos de valor a la vista en el interior de los automóviles estacionados.
Side note, we also have XQW underneath Radio Chan Santa Cruz here. So the top station is XECPR in Mexico. The station underneath them with Mark Levine is WXQW in Alabama, Fairhope, Alabama. Interesting note on that one. Remember last week talked about, thought they were gospel, black gospel. They do on Sundays. And I guess last time I heard them, that's what they were running. And every time I'd listen to them, I guess that's what they were running. And Barry mentioned he also thought the same thing, that they were a black gospel station. But they do run news during most of the time, during the week at least. And then on Sundays at least, they do the gospel music. So. Very interesting.
La pandemia sí sucede. Ya no tenemos reservaciones con tanto tiempo de anticipación, entonces estamos esperando que estos días levanten. En este momento la plaza está sobre un 35-45%. Esperado para Semana Santa. Pues realmente no esperamos que se quede así. Se prevé que vaya sobre niveles de 60 a 75%. Pero como comentaba, realmente las reservaciones incluso caen de último momento o llegan mucha gente.
We've got both Mexico mics in the house tonight. Welcome, gentlemen. All right, so we know that one's Quintana. Let's go look at 670 and see what we got here. We had Progresso on 650. We have XECPR on 660. Here on 670, guess who that is? That's a Beldy. And let's look at 680. And I'll verify that was who that is on 670, by the way, by going over here and ABing this to 1180.
Y uno que había tenido buenos números, incluso preselecciones.
He's in there, yeah.
Contra Santiago.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that next week, actually. We're going to do a bit of a dive into the eclipse next week, Barry, and an AM propagation special on next week's live stream. I had that planned for next week, is to kind of dive into that and talk a bit about the eclipse and what to expect on that Monday. So we're gonna dive into that. My glasses came in today. We're only going to be at 83% here, so not expecting a whole lot of a difference on the bands here. It'll be pretty decent, close, but definitely those up in Boot Crew North. You guys should have some interesting stuff, so we'll talk a bit about that, like I said, next week. And actually, I have a video. I've shot it like 4 times that I'm trying to get ready for the channel that I'll put out probably on Monday this week, coming up a week out. I'll put up on the channel about the eclipse. And it's going to be geared more towards the non-DXer, about what they can expect on the radio during the eclipse, as part of our Radio 101 video series we're starting up. But we'll be talking about that on next week's stream, pretty in depth.
Ya sabemos que Industriales pierde algunos de sus lanzadores. Hablabas de Jonathan Carbó, Italia. Granma perderá
nice, nice, Jeff. That's a good one.
Y bueno, pienso en estos equipos que son los que van en la zona avanzada, sobre todo me refiero a Granma, Industriales, Camagüey, junto con Pinar y Ciego. Bueno, Pinar ya perdió sus 2 primeros pitchers. Entonces,
all right, so there's 670 out of Rebelde out of Cuba.
Debería cambiar el
and here's 680. Let me throw this into lower sideband and get away from my local slop. I'm going to say, my guess, that's probably Columbia, Radio Nacional. Although it's not yet dark outside, so that would be a little early for them. But that sounds like something I might hear from them. They do a lot of instrumental. There they go. That's a pretty decent signal out of Columbia, and it's not yet dark outside. This antenna is fantastic. Oh man, love this thing. All right, so we got our work through here, our first work through the top of the hour from our outgoing frequencies, 650 through 680, and got our top of the hour done. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have some more live DX heading your way. Of course, we're going to get to your shout-outs. We're going to get to a whole lot more. So don't go anywhere, my friends. More DX Central Live is heading your way right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. From the pages of its DX Monitor Member Bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, every Friday night, at least for a handful of more weeks, where we bring you live AMDX. We talk AMDX and FMDX. We talk about tips and tricks for DXing. We talk about building antennas and SDRs and radios, all kinds of stuff. I was trying to figure out a way to be able to do this live stream remotely out in the field so I could do a portable radio version of DX Central Live. I'm still working on that. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off or not, but I want to make that happen. I think that'd be kind of cool. Just a bare bones, barefoot portable radio with just nothing but the internal ferrite antenna inside. And let's go outside and see what we can hear together. What do you think? Would that be fun? I think that'd be kind of fun. We might have to not have all the bells and whistles we normally have and all the slick production and all that kind of stuff. It might just be me with my phone sitting there streaming, but we could do that together, right? We could figure something out. All right, so let's let's go ahead and start off with some shout outs, shall we? Shout outs, and get those in here, and our first round of them at least, and that way you guys have a chance to get the high fives you so greatly deserve for your catches in the last week. Anything that you might have gotten new countries, new logs, new states, new Mexican states, new Canadian provinces. You guys know the drill. Anything that you got, even if it's new gear, if you got some new gear or hit a new milestone or just something kind of cool that you noticed this week, send those in to us in our submission form. The link's in the chat. You can scroll up and find it, and we'll be happy to read that on air and let everybody enjoy celebrating alongside with you. Ready? Let's do some shout outs. I got something new for you here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're getting fancy now. We've got a little something for the shout-outs. And here we go. All right, so let's start off with Jerry. Let me turn that down just a tiny bit. All right, let's start with Jerry Hart here, Niagara Falls, New York. Jerry starting off the week with a new log from CMKC in Santiago de Cuba, Radio Revolucion, on the 26th of this month of March. Also, and I have to stop the music here for this one because this is pretty cool, got a new country this week with 810 ZNS3 in Bahamas and Freeport the Light. New log for him this week. So we get the passport stamped. We're looking for that nice empty page somewhere in here because Jerry's got to get himself down to Bahamas, and we can start with that. There we go. Even though when I went to Bahamas, I didn't have to have a passport, but hey, we're going to stamp you anyway. There you go, my friend. Good job, Jerry. Jerry Hart, Niagara Falls, New York, with a new Radio Revolution and a new Bahamas station for New Country. Let's go to Keegan now. I just realized the music's probably not going to be very easy to do here since we do all the videos and little things like that, so maybe I won't start up the music. I had this whole image in my mind of like tying that in with the new intro, but maybe that's not going to work. Keegan, Boot Crew North, and always good for some good FMDX, especially March 23rd, 101.5 KIKS in Iola, Kansas. And that's Country 101.5 KIKS at 6:45 p.m., 132 miles, while local KXVB was off briefly. So good job with the new log, my friend. Let's get you one of these guys. And I didn't do the Horn of Victory for Jerry. I forgot about that, Jerry. This is for you, buddy. There you go, Jerry. Got that Horn of Victory in there for you as well. I was so focused on the music, I forgot about the Horn of Victory. Jacob in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Guess what he got this week? And I remember when he got this one, I was in the Slack channel seeing this one go down, and I was very jealous because I was trying to hear him, not even close. 650 HIAT in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. First match to the Bonaire Kiwi with music, and then to their online stream. Thanks to auroral conditions at the time, do believe Dominican Republic is a new country, so guess what that means? We are stamping a passport for them. We're going to blow the horn of victory. There's a nice empty page, and we're going to send yourself down to Dominican Republic. Good job, my friend. Very, very jealous about that one, because that's one of those countries I heard a couple times in Charleston, but they have eluded me thus far. I really wanted Radio Zamba this week on 680. It just never came to be, never materialized, because that was one of the cooler catches I had from Charleston when I was there, was Radio Zamba. John Smyrna. You guys call it Smyrna or Smyrna? I know every state has a little bit different of flair on that one. In Delaware, no new AM logs this week, but did have some good FM Tropo. See, told you, on the East Coast. Got 3 new FM logs, 88.5 WRTP in Franklinton, North Carolina, and 91.7 WHCP in Trapp, Maryland. I hope I said that right. And 101.1 WYMY in Burlington, North Carolina. So some new logs for our friend John on the FM band. Good job, man. If you're listening to these shout-outs and you would love to be able to get one of your own in there, you're thinking, man, I got some good stuff. Let's talk about me for a second. There's your link. Submit your link in the shout-out submission form that I just sent down there. And and you too can have your shout-outs written on air. And our friend Carl DeWitt, who recently crossed 700, we'll give another little... There you go for that. had 6 new logs this week, and he's in Kingsport, Tennessee, by the way. None on the challenge frequencies, because those are tough. These frequencies were tough. But did get 6 new ones this week. WTCG in North Carolina, WWNL in Pennsylvania. I tried for them. WQNO for New Louisiana, all right. And WUMY in Tennessee, WKTR in Virginia, and WMDB in Tennessee. That puts him at 718 stations. Also major news, he finally got himself an AirSpy HF Plus Discovery set up tonight and listening to it now with the W6 LVP loop for the antenna. My man, we're going to give you an extra one of these. Horn of victory for that. That is freaking awesome. I need to come up with a new graphic, a That's Cool graphic. Maybe we can keep with the 80s theme in here, because that is so cool for you to get that AirSpy and the W6 LVP. My friend, you're going to love it. It's going to just open up so many doors. I know you're still learning the AirSpy, and I might do a little something tonight here on the live stream to kind of give you some guidance on the SDR Sharp. But I am so excited for you. Congratulations on the new logs as well. Let's get those logs solid over here. And don't think I didn't catch that WQNO here on 690 here in the city of New Orleans. So we gonna be dishing out some gumbo to our friend Carl up in Kingsport, Tennessee, with his shiny new fancy AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. Yes, sir. There you go, baby. All right, my friend, congratulations and good ones in there. That'll be our first round. We got some more here, and we'll do our second round. We got Mexico Mike J in there. We got David Harden from Georgia in there. We got Haley from Boot Crew North in Star City, Arkansas in there. So we'll get them in here in our second round. You still have time to get yours in the second round as well. If you have some shout outs you'd like to get in, make sure you get those in here through the shout out submission form. All right, so Sean says he'll get his shout outs uploaded in just a bit, and I did touch on that, Sean, on the challenge for the Grand Slam already. You talked about that at top of the before the previous top of the hour, so I'll circle back around to it in a bit. All right, so that is our first round of shout outs. Let me actually, I have to double check one thing before I say this, because I don't want to be wrong, because that happens quite frequently. When I say things, I'm like saying it with authority and with full confidence and knowledge, and I look at it and go, oh no, that's not right, I didn't do that. Okay, glad I checked, because nope, I was wrong in what I was about to say. So I do have a couple of shout outs for myself this week, a couple of logs, because I was about to hit the old, because I didn't think I got anything this week, but we did. We got a couple, just a couple, but that's enough. All right, so let's talk a bit about a little project that I'm going to be working on here as we go into the summer, because summertime actually is a really great time to hear trans-equatorial DX on AM, and we know it on like 6 meter VHF and some of these other VHF formats. Trans-equatorial is really nice in the summertime sometimes, or around spring equinox and fall equinox, things like that. But summertime has been when I've gotten some of my best DX catches that are south of the equator. Benin on 1476 happened in July. I've heard who else was it down there? I heard Peru once down there. Are they not south of the equator? I don't know. Anyway, south of the equator DX and into Latin America in general. I was going back through my Brasstown logs when I was putting those in, and I had a lot of DX in Colombia, Honduras, and so forth back then, pre-SDR days, all in the summertime. And that was when I was doing the majority of my Latin American DX. So it's with that in mind that one of my projects I want to do this year is I actually want to target some stations down south into South America and try to fill in some of those gaps that I don't have currently in my logbook. So how do I do that? How do I target specific countries? Some of the resources that are out there are good and helpful, but they're not quite where they need to be to get you. Like, I want to hear Bolivia, right? Jaguar, if you're using Jaguar for your Perseus, you can't really do that. You have to go through every frequency and try to find stations in Bolivia. There are some resources out there, but let me show you one that's quick, it's easy, it's free, and it's super, super handy to have. We're going to go here to medium wave list. mediumwavelist.org. We're actually not going to go here. We're going to go to our quick and easy medium wave list. So I'm going to put this in the chat really quick. So we're going to start with South America here. Oops, that's not where I wanted to be. That's not where I wanted to be. This is where I wanted to be. So we're going to start off here in South America. I want to target Bolivia. Actually, I was in the right place. I wasn't the quick and easy. That's a good list if you're going, it's downloads. That's where it is. So here's where you want to go. I'm going to drop this in the chat. All right. Blazer Bobcat says picking up some music sung in Spanish on 660, most likely with the Mexican stations. Very, very possible. Very, very possible. Quintana Roo being among the chief of those. 660 XECPR that we heard earlier. Listen for Radio Chan Santa Cruz, and they also like to play like some jungle type sounds because, you know, it's Yucatan Peninsula. So you hear like some like kind of rainforesty, jungle-y type sounds sometimes after they do an ID. That's them if you hear it. So we're going to go over here to America. No, we're not. I'm going to go find first. I just want to target. Let me just start with Bolivia. So I'm over here in the downloads area of Medium Wave List. MediumWaveList.org. I've logged in. You have to have an account to do this. So create yourself an account, log in, and then go to the downloads tab up here at the top. And then once you're here, go down until you find your country. In this case, I want Bolivia. Now you can download entire regions. Like you can do all of Europe. You can do all of the Americas, all of Africa, all of Asia Pacific, or you can choose a handful of different countries in here and it'll give you a PDF for each one of them. I'm just going to start with just one here. So we're going to start with Bolivia. There it is. And then we're going to come down here to the bottom and we're going to select what we want. I want this in a PDF format. I don't care about Garmin and TomTom. And then we're going to hit start download. Now you can also do this if you have your location and stuff like that. You can also put that in here as well. And it will give you like your bearing and all that kind of stuff. I don't need that necessarily. I just need to know some stations to target. I want to know if I'm going to look for some bigger stations in Bolivia, some higher powered stations that I want to try to target. Who should I be targeting? And so here's where we do that. We just actually gave this information to Stephanie before she took her trip down to Australia with some stuff down that way. We gave her a couple lists of some stations to listen for, and I'd be interested to see how it worked out for her, if that was able to be helpful for her. So let's go in here now. Let's zoom in a little bit. So this is going to be a full list. It's going to have things like NDBs in there as well. It may have some shortwave stuff up the top if there's some shortwave information that's also available. So we're going to have to look at some of those maybe for some of our Kiwi SDR work that we have on our new big antenna. But let me go back down here to the AM band. So this is going to show you a couple things. You're going to see in here your frequency, your country, your city, your station name, and then here's the power information. So this is what I'm really going to be leaning on, right? So like for instance, 760, there's a big powerful one, 50 kilowatts here, a Radio Fides in Bolivia. So one of the things that I can do then is I can start building my target list off of these stations and start from like the most powerful ones that I see and start with those and kind of build a list, and then the next powerful, and then the next powerful, and so forth. And then I can then go in and research each one of these that I look at, and I can say, okay, let me go look to their website, let me go to their live stream, see if I can hear their live stream if they have one. If they do, how do they ID? Is there anything unique? Is there anything that's specific to them that I might be able to use? Like we know with like things like Haiti has the dashing through the snow little da-na-na-na-na, right? Or you might have RCN in Colombia has a very specific melody to them. So we're looking for stuff like that. Do they have anything that really stands out? Anything that they do on a regular basis that might stand out? Whether it's like La Nueva Radio Ya down in Honduras, or Nicaragua rather, they love their lasers. So if you hear that on 600, that's probably who it is. Things like that. So I'm looking for any kind of information first to find my stations to target. And then once I've identified those stations, then I'm using that information to then, okay, research those stations further. What's their format? What do they like to do? If I don't have a live stream, do I have a Kiwi SDR down in that area that I can use to kind of pull in some information and listen to them that way? Which actually, if you want to know the truth, might help. I find, your mileage may vary, but I find that when I'm listening to a station on a Kiwi SDR with the static and the porpoising and everything else that comes to it, it kind of tunes my ears a bit better for what I can expect to hear on my own side of the equation than if I'm listening to that pristine audio coming out of the live stream from the station itself. I mean, that's helpful, right? That can be helpful. But if I have a choice, if I'm going to say, do I listen to the live stream from the station or the live stream of a Kiwi that's in that area or close by where I can hear it like on the radio, I'm choosing the Kiwi every time, because that helps me get my ears tuned to what it sounds like of their transmitted signal out over the radio waves and picked up by an antenna. That's, if I have an opportunity to do that, that's my first choice every time, because that will get my head ready to roll for listening to that station on my own side. So you can see, I just go through here and I'm going to identify, okay, I'm going to start my 50K here. Are there any other 50Ks or any other strong ones in here? There's a 15, there's a bunch of 10s, there's some 2s. So not really, that 150K. So then I would go to that 15 that we saw, and then maybe some of these 10s that are down here, down low. Those are going to be tough. Those are going to be really, really tough. So here's a 10 at night on 680. So yeah, I'm going to be looking for those stations that are more likely, right? I'll also then kind of correlate this to maps. If you have Jaguar, if you're using a Perseus, you have Jaguar, you can do this very easily. If not, maybe Google Maps or whatever you want to use, a mapping software you might have. I want to take a look at those locations and see what those locations look like. And so it may be 50 kilowatt, but if it's way, way down there, way, way out in the middle of nowhere, way far away from my antenna, it's going to be harder to hear versus if it's closer in towards, in this case, over towards like Peru, the western end of Brazil, things like that. If it's like that little northeast corner, like I'm looking right here. So if I'm like in this corner of Bolivia, I might have a better chance than if it's like down here or down here. That's going to be a little bit tougher to hear. I need more power to get up from down here into my antenna than I would up here in this area. It's going to be all tough. Bolivia, as a landlocked country, is going to be very, very tough for me to hear. But this list at least helps me identify which stations might be helpful for me to do this from. So that is a great place to do this. So just go to medium wave list, go to downloads, pick your country or countries. You can do more than one. And if let's say I went in here and I did Bolivia, go back in here and do Bolivia. Let's do Paraguay and Uruguay. So I know Uruguay is going to be over here. There's Uruguay. Let me see. Paraguay is up here. I need Chile as well. So let me go to Chile. And I'm going to throw Brazil in just because I don't have Brazil here. I have them lifetime, but not here. So I would love to get some Brazil. So I'm just going to pick all those countries, hit the start download, and here's what you can expect to see. You hit OK here. Okie dokie. And so once it gets done preparing all this data for me, puts it into a nice, in this case, a zip file. And on that zip file, I have all these nice documents. So it's giving me a PDF for each country. Super handy, super nice. That should be all that you would need to be able to research these countries, find which stations are super powerful, start with those, and then work your way down. Don't be afraid to go a little further down that power list, by the way. Radio Monumental in Ecuador is only 3 kilowatts. Okay. Radio Vision in Tumbes, Peru, which is right there off of the border with Ecuador, they're, I think, 1 to 3 kilowatts. They're super, super low power. So sometimes some of these stations do get out, even though you think there's no way I'm near a 1 kilowatt station out of Peru or 3 kilowatt out of Ecuador. It's not going to happen. You'd be surprised, especially if it's on a frequency where you might have a little more of a clearing. You might want to give it a shot. 760. That's a good one there. Now I have some stations down in Mexico I have to get through. I've got WJR obviously up in Detroit. I can get rid of them pretty easily with some nulling on the backside of these CASs and things. But the Mexico station is going to be my biggest thing to trying to get through on 760. But if I can either null them or get rid of them or whatever, I might have a shot at trying to get some of that station out of Bolivia on 760. Who knows? You never know. All right. So that is it. Medium wave list, mwlist.org. Create your account, set up all your stuff, go to the downloads tab right here at the top, and then you can do the same thing. You can research how to look for stations that might be targetable for you. And like I said, this doesn't even have to be just Latin America. You have all these here. All these different ones are here for you. So if you're looking for something in Europe, if you're looking for something in the South Pacific or Africa, things like that, by all means. If you're looking for just Africa, you can hit that Africa button, and guess what? There's all the stations, or the countries rather, in Africa all selected at once. You can download them all at one time. There you go. If I do the Americas, now it's switched it over to North and South America with the Caribbean included in there as well. So hopefully this is going to help you with your own DX efforts. And again, it does include in there NDBs and shortwave as well. It's not just medium wave, it's also shortwave and those NDBs as well. So if you're looking to maybe do those other things as well outside of the AM band, that can give you an opportunity to check those out. I'm not sure how accurate some of those are, especially on the shortwave side, but you can give it a shot and give it a try and see if you might be able to hear something that you hadn't heard before. All right, so let's do. What time is it? 36 after. We wrapped up a little earlier than I thought I would on that one. Let's do a little more live DX. You know what? Let's go back to this big beautiful Kiwi here. Actually, no. Before we do that, let's do this. Talked about FM coming up here. Hey, Justin. Let's see what you guys. Jungly. See what you guys are over here talking about in the chat. See if there's anything I missed. Just seeing if there's anything in here. Okay, we're looking good. Okay, so FM season is around the corner for just about all of us. E-skip season probably a month and a half away, somewhere in there, depending on. Usually it's somewhere in May we see our first opening a lot of times. Last year it was like we had a couple of small ones, then we got a little bitty one around the 19th of May, and then boom, the end of May, 31st, it just went wide open that one day, and then we had some pretty regular openings after that, which was nice. But there are some other folks, especially those who are a little more close to the coast, as we saw with John in Delaware, who have an opportunity to hear some Tropo. So I know a lot of you that are landlocked on the Midwest and things like that, you had your shot at some Tropo conditions in August, September of last year when we had those big openings there. The coastal regions this time of the year especially usually start kind of gearing up. We start seeing some Gulf Tropo. I'm going to try some techniques this year to live stream some Gulf Tropo and some E-skip openings on FM here from North Shore Studios. We'll see. But let's take a look at a tool here that every one of us should be using on a regular basis, and that is Bill Hepburn's Tropo Forecast. Let's drop the link in the log. So this is a great way for you to identify if there's going to be Tropo in your area, and see if it's even worth kind of flipping the radio on and kind of zooming around a bit. So let me show you what you're looking for. So right now here on the page, you'll see I'm kind of zoomed in on the eastern half of the country. There is also up here, there is a select, if you scroll up, there's a select region area here. So you can select all kinds of stuff. As a matter of fact, you can do Western North America. So this would be great for our friends down in Mexico, Mike and Mike. You can see you guys always constantly have Tropo conditions here right along the coast of the western coast of the main peninsula of Mexico and the Baja region. There's constantly Tropo down here all the time. I've never not seen it. I've never seen this area not have some sort of coloration in here indicating Tropo. Always there. So if you ever have a chance to make a little trip over to the western coast, there you go, you might have a shot. So just pick your region. And so I'm going to do the eastern half of North America here, because that's probably the best way to have a kind of look at it for everybody, for most folks here. So once you click on it, you'll see at the top, you'll see your valid time frame. So this is basically the forecast for this particular time on this particular date. And if you either click on the map, or you can also use your like left and right keys to go back and forward on your keyboard. In this case, that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to go forward in time here. Now see down here in the Gulf of Mexico, you'll start seeing some of this color start to kind of move in a little bit inward. As you'll scroll down here, you'll see the color scale. So the closer you get to this end of the scale down here with the pinks and the reds and the oranges, that becomes a more of an intense Tropo opening. The down here, the blues and greens and light greens, those are a little lighter. As far as the intensity. Doesn't mean we won't see anything or not some good stuff, but it's going to be just a little bit lighter. So let's take a look as we go into now. This is going to be, we are at 00 right now. So we're right around 0039 right now. So this is roughly what we should have had here at the top of the hour. And then in 3 hours or so, this is what it's saying we'll see down here in the Gulf Coast. Now, as we go into the night, you're going to see typically this Tropo opening down here in the Gulf Coast, and you'll also see this sometimes on the East Coast, gets a little bit more intense as you go into the night, and then it starts to fall off after the sun. And that's because of these inversion layers that build in overnight, especially around coastal areas. So there you see now it's really starting to get inland a little bit further as we get into the morning. This is 1 o'clock tonight, Central Time, 1 o'clock a.m. Central Time tonight. really cooking by the time we get to 5 a.m. And then look, now we start to get to 7 a.m. Central Time, and it starts to push back out again. And then the daytime comes through, and then as we get back into the nighttime again, there's 1 o'clock in the morning tomorrow night into Sunday morning. And look at it, boom, Boot Crew North, you guys are on alert. You might see a little bit of a push into your area perhaps as we get into Sunday. But look at what we get to Monday. Now we're talking, this is 1 a.m. Sunday night, Monday morning. Seeing some reds in there now, some really intense. You'll always a lot of times see these little white gray areas down here along the coast around the border here, Texas and Mexico. They are really always getting that stuff down there all the time. And then you'll see here, look at the Gulf of Mexico, just constant red from coastline to coastline. So Tampa, St. Pete into the Gulf Coast area here should be able to see, if everything works out, the whole Gulf Coast, west to east, here around 0 UTC. So this would be what, night 7 o'clock Monday night. 7 o'clock Monday night. Oh, look at the white starting to come in there. Look at that, man. As we get into like 1 a.m. Tuesday morning, Monday night, Tuesday morning, look at that white get in there. And that's really intense. And then we have a front that looks like it's coming through. You'll see these straight line fronts that come through and kind of push all this out, clears the air. Now you've got some tropo booming up here, or starting to kind of form up here into Canada, into Ontario. And the further out you go here in this forecast, we're talking Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This is kind of far out, so this will definitely probably change as we go along. But even look here to Arkansas here, 12 UTC on Monday. That's 7 a.m. Monday morning. You've got some stuff here, Boot Crew North. Even into some parts of Indiana, Illinois, you might see some tropo scatter, which is just some mild enhancement that gets you a little bit further than you normally get. Or boost some of those semi-local stations to you. So you guys might have a chance to have something on Monday, Sunday. You got a little bit of a Great Lakes enhancement here in the northern Indiana, Ohio region. Here off the coast of the East Coast, you got some stuff right off the Carolina and Georgia coast. So take a look at this forecast. If you're not doing this already, Bill Hepburn's forecast is an absolute must from basically now until we get to like November. You're going to be wanting to look at this just about every day for any updates and new stuff, to see if there's any tropo in your area. I promise you, if you get some tropo openings in your area, he had the forecast pinned last year during the big heat dome for tropo event that we had in September last year. He had it nailed, man. He had it nailed. His forecast was spot on. So keep an eye on this. This will tell you in advance if you should at least be checking. It's not a guarantee. Sometimes these tropo openings don't get down into FM, but at least the mechanics are there that it can. So it helps you get into that that frame of mind, starts you off at least looking for it, and then if it happens and materializes, you'll be ready. All right. So everyone looking here in the chat, see what you guys are talking about. Okay. Let's talk some new frequencies for a medium wave frequency challenge. I'm not going to do a break. We're just going to roll right through it. By the way, this hour of Live DX is brought to you by National Radio Club, nationalradioclub.org. That's where you want to go for more information about becoming a member of the National Radio Club right now. Go do it right now. If you're not already a member, make sure you go do that, please. All right, so let's talk about our new frequencies of the week. So we've been kind of down lower a bit. Last couple weeks, we've had some lower end of the band. We're going to move up a little bit this time, a little bit closer to the middle of the band, and see if we can hear some stuff. Now, this is going to have we're going to have a bit more to play with here. Not a ton more than what we've had last week, but more stations are going to be available for us, and I think there's some really cool stuff. And for some of you, for one of you, you may have a chance to do something really, really, really cool here. So let's go ahead and get into our announcement for this week's radio. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this frequency range. 1060. We got some East Coast and West Coast big dominant stations, right? We've got KYW on the East Coast, and then 1060 out west. We have what do we have out west? I forget who it is out west. Who you guys have out west? I forget who it is on 1060. Anyway, I know Mexico, XECPAE, Radio Educación, is going to be a big one here on the South Wires this week on 1060. So that's one to be shooting for, and they stand out pretty well. Beyond that, we're looking down south. I don't see a ton on 1060. 1070, though, some of you are looking for California. You don't have California yet. This is your shot. This is going to be a shot for you to get California this week on 1070 with KNX. They are one of the more widely heard, KFI as well, but some of you have heard KNX but not KFI. And so you can vouch. KNX just gets out very, very well out east. So if you need California, this is a great week for you to give that a shot and try to get KNX into your logbook on 1070. There's also a couple of stations you'll be able to try for as well. WDIA, we get them pretty well here in Memphis. Here in New Orleans, we get Memphis WDIA pretty well. WFLI there in Lookout Mountain. Are they still on 1070? Low night power. Yeah, I think they used to be pretty big. The API has been the one I've been hearing a lot here. Let me actually move over here to the Perseus so you guys can follow along on the map. The API in Birmingham, that's who I've been hearing a lot on 1070. Them and DIA kind of seem to own the frequency here for the most part. But you got KFTI. I heard them once, yeah, in Wichita. KNX is going to be a big one for a lot of you guys. Here's Greenville, North Carolina, out here on the East Coast. WCSZ Sanssouci. I used to hate them when I lived in Greenville. Hated that station because they're kind of like KGLA is here now on 830 at a Norco. Just the audio sounds terrible, and they're on when they shouldn't be a lot of times, or I don't think they power down like they should. I may be wrong on that, so don't hold me to it. But yeah, Sanssouci, I think they've gotten better. I've seen less complaints about that signal on after dark and things like that than I used to see. Here into Latin America, there's not a ton. There's a little bit in Mexico, a little bit Central America. I'm keeping an eye on the time. But not a ton of stuff here on 1070 in Latin America. Now we start getting into a little bit more where Latin America may be an option for some of you who are looking down south. On 1080, we've got KRLD as a dominant WTIC for you, those of you on the East Coast. If you are not on the East Coast, you're not used to hearing WTIC, listen around the top of the hour for their little jingle sounder that they have. Just listen for that. I heard that here. That's the only thing I heard on 1080 when I first moved here to Louisiana. I heard that when I was pointing right at them, and I put them in the logbook because I knew that's them. I know that's who that is. Okay, when you hear, like I talked earlier about those little sounders, those unique things to a station, well, that's WTIC. Around the top of the hour, you hear that, there you go. You got WTIC in Connecticut. So I actually need to color that white because I forgot to do that. WWNL in Pennsylvania. I saw some of you guys actually heard them this week. WFTD in Marietta. That's another one that's going to be pretty popular. Ooh, a little crazy there. KFXX here in Portland. I'm shooting for you guys when we move. I'm going to swap out the Kaz on the Kiwi this week. At some point, we're going to throw it from the south to the north. I don't know when that's going to be, but I will be throwing it to the north just to see how it does. That's going to put all those New Orleans stations on the null. I can't wait to see what that does for our signal to noise ratio and what it does for just being pointed in that general direction. It's 330 degrees. That puts it right about right here, if I remember right. Nope, it's a little bit further this way. So Montana-ish up in here is going to be where it's pointing at. So maybe Portland might be within the realm of possibilities once we point that up west. We do have a station down here in Mexico City. You've got a couple of Cubans here on 1080, and then you got a handful of stations down here in Colombia on 1080 as well. Not anything like crazy big, but you got a handful of stations that can make the trip if you get some good conditions. Here's the frequency though, okay? 1090. I was sitting on this last night and I heard my friends on Radio Vision in Tumbes, Peru last night. I haven't heard them in 2 years. Last time I heard them was after I first moved here to Louisiana. Heard them last night. Now, Radio Monumental was the loudest I've heard them in maybe the entire time I've been in Louisiana. It was definitely top 5 as far as signal strength. Flip down to 1090, there was Peru. They have a very distinct audio. Not all the time. Sometimes they're going to be running music or something like that. But when they have this one guy, it's this one church down there in Peru. And when the pastor is doing his thing, he's doing the prayers, it sticks out like a sore thumb. I'll pop here in a bit. I'll pop a link to their live stream in there. Listen to it, get to know it, become friends with it, and you'll know exactly what to listen for on 1090. You can do this. I'm looking at you, Mike in Mexico. I'm looking at you guys, Jacob in Minnesota, Barry, Tennessee. I mean, every one of you guys who are watching the stream right now, give it a go, give it a shot. But there are a handful of you that I think have a particularly good setup that can get you down into Peru this week on 1090. You can do this. You can hear them. If you just, I know the HD hash from KRLD and whatnot is going to be tough. I know it is. Trust me, it is. You've got some 1090 stations around you. KAAY is not gone. They're still around, and they can be tough to get through. I promise you. Stick with it. Listen to that live stream from Radio Vision and Tumbes, Peru. Memorize what that guy's voice sounds like, and as soon as you hear it on the air, you'll know it instantly. Like I was sitting there last night, I tuned down to 1090. I was like, I wonder if Peru's in, because Ecuador was so loud. And I listened for about 3 seconds, and then I heard the prayer, and it was unmistakable, absolutely unmistakable. I have a video up on the YouTube channel here. Just go to my YouTube channel and search for Peru, and it'll take you probably right to it, and you can hear what that sounds like. You can hear him. Okay, when I was in Charleston, that's the first time I heard this guy. And it's doable. It's doable. There's a bunch of you that have a shot here on 1090 at getting Peru. And I hope somebody does this week, hear Peru for the first time, or at least this station for the first time, because it's one of my absolute favorite stations in Latin America to tune in. I get goosebumps every time I hear them, because it's so cool to hear this station. And I really want one of you guys to get it this week. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start there. We're going to start from the top down. It's probably a little early, but I thought about Colombia, the same thing, but let's see if we can get from the top down here. Let's go to 1090. Let's see if we can hear Peru on 1090 here on this Kiwi on the south antenna. Let's go. This hour of Live DX brought to you by IRCA, International Radio Club of America, IRCAonline.com. So there's KAY already making me look like a fool. Let me I'm going to pop their website for Radio Vision here in the chat. Okay? We're going to pause this audio for just a second, and let's take a look and see what we have.
Postal La Cosecha.
I always start with the live stream first. Well, not always. Last night I didn't. But if I'm purposely looking for them, I usually will start with the live stream first just to get a sense of what they're doing at the time. And here's what they sound like right now.
4 minutos. Radio Visión, una radio para todos. Todos.
All right, let's see if we can hear that music. That should cut through. And their stream is usually pretty close to the on-air when I've heard it. Usually it's pretty close. Side note, if you don't hear Peru, you got a couple of stations in Mexico, you got several in Colombia on 1090, so this can still be a treasure trove, even if you don't get Peru. There
There you go, Dennis. You got a decast pointing right at Peru, man. You got a shot. And we are going to see WordPress just scared the crap out of me. I went to go put the page on, the link it for the page to update that to the new one, and none of my pages were showing up, and I was about to say some very bad words. Right on the screen. It had one page that said, "Hello world," and I was like, don't tell me I got hacked or something. Shout-outs starting to get filled up. Good, good, good. Send them in. We want bunches of them. Tons of shout-outs. New form will go live here at the top of the hour. Speaking of... here we go. It's top of the hour time. All right, we're going to come back to 1090. That's XCTUL, isn't it? Yep. That's a relog. Yep, that's what I thought. I was looking 1070.
Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 3 right here on Talk 99.5. Securities offered for Osage Wealth Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPSA. Osage Wealth
There's Alabama.
Separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osage Wealth Incorporated. It's Danny Knowles at theknowlesgroup.com.
Make this an amazing new year with a new swimming pool from Distinctive Pools. You've heard Leland talk about the incredible pools that Gary and his team design and build. You've dreamed of an in-ground pool for the family. Now is the time to prepare. Let the team at Distinctive Pools help you come up with a budget to beautify your backyard space.
Where Birmingham comes to talk. WZRR, WATI Birmingham. Talk 99.5 and Talk995.com. The news starts now.
And 1060.
From ABC News.
There's Mexico City. Listen to how loud they are. Listen to how loud they are. That's local copy, man. That's local copy here. That is absolutely local copy.
Les saludamos a nombre de la Subdirección de Información de Radio Educación. Tenemos nuestro avance informativo de este 29 de marzo del 2024, recordándole que es previo al tercer informativo Pulso edición nocturna de las 20 horas 8 de la noche al que le invitamos. En redes sociales se enfrentan Claudia Sheinbaum, candidata de la coalición Sigamos Haciendo Historia, y el empresario Claudio X González. Por la mañana, el impulso del frente opositor aseguró que el aspirante a la presidencia por Morena y aliados se convirtió en el monstruo que decía combatir, ya que ahora defiende
XCPRS on 1090, forgot about them.
y la corrupción.
They recently made the trip here to Louisiana, yeah.
Pretende construir
I forgot about those guys. That was my Baja California. How to forget that?
Con el crimen organizado. A este mensaje la doctora Sheinbaum Pardo contestó con otro mensaje.
A shortwave radio education. They are not parallel, but they also come in quite nicely here, by the way. And by the way, if you are using our Kiwi SDR here in Mandeville, and you're doing anything up in the shortwave bands, any of these shortwave stations that you see up here, on the labels up here, these are all Mom, the shortwave guru herself, populating all these in here with her research and her knowledge. So whatever you see in here, shortwave wise, broadcast stuff, that's all stuff that she has populated in here on her own, based on her own research, her own knowledge, her own listening, things like that. So it's going to be, as we continue to grow that, a super helpful place for you to look and hear what we hear here in Louisiana on the shortwave bands as well. Let's type that correctly this time.
262 hectáreas en 20 estados del país. En lo internacional de nuestro avance en medio de presiones internacionales.
I'll show you here at the top of the hour, Mike. I'll show it.
En la franja de Gaza, el primer ministro de Israel, Benjamín Netanyahu, autorizó una nueva ronda
There's a couple different ways. I'll show you the easy way.
Encaminada a concretar una tregua en este territorio palestino donde acecha la hambruna. Pese a lo anterior, las fuerzas israelíes siguen ignorando el llamado a un cese al fuego aprobado por el Consejo de Seguridad de Naciones Unidas. Y
I think this second station right here underneath them is probably XERDO. I have heard them here before. La Rosa, right on the border.
Una semana después del ataque a una sala de conciertos en Moscú, las autoridades rusas elevaron a 144 la cifra de fallecidos luego de que
Mike just got that on there, yeah. That's probably who one of the other ones is. There's also a Radio 26 or 26 here in Cuba as well. They get out quite a bit.
De personas fue detenida por sus presuntos nexos con el ataque reivindicado por el grupo del Estado Islámico. En Groenlandia, un grupo de mujeres busca una compensación económica por parte del gobierno de Dinamarca por una polémica campaña de control natal masivo involuntaria, lanzada a mediados del siglo pasado.
I think I just heard him say it again. So the station here on top is Mexico City Radio Education 1060 XECPAE, and then underneath them there are a couple of stations in there I think that are Spanish. One of those is probably XERDO right there on the border. La Raza.
La Ciudad de México por el derecho a la ciudad a la carta. Un espacio de comunicación y participación de la ciudadanía para escoger de la Carta de la Ciudad de México por el derecho a la ciudad, los temas de la agenda que interesan a todos los que habitamos en el Distrito Federal y su zona conurbada. Un ejercicio de radio participativa para exponer los problemas que afectan la convivencia en el barrio, el pueblo o la colonia y las alternativas para solucionarlos. Día con día la ciudad cambia y nosotros con ella. Mejorar nuestra calidad de vida solo es posible si ejercemos el derecho a la ciudad.
That man talking in Spanish is Cuba. Guarantee it. Yeah, no, it sounded like an ice cream truck for a second there, didn't it? I'm going to do you a solid here real quick, Mike. Let me show you. I got to log in really quick here using my password, because I'm not on the local network of this particular Kiwi SDR, but you won't have to do that if you're on the Kiwi network, same network as the Kiwi. But if you're on your waterfall, just like, let's say right now I'm on 1060, I right click somewhere in the waterfall and hit Open DX label panel, and that will take you to this. And then you can then choose, okay, I want to put this in SAM or whatever mode you want it to be in. If you have something like I have WYLD here in New Orleans, and they are Sequam stereo, so I actually set this so that if you click on the label, it'll take you right to that mode, right? Otherwise, I usually kind of leave it in either AM, SAM, SAS, whatever one you want to use. For broadcast type, you can choose whatever you want. I choose broadcast. For your type, rather, I choose broadcast. And then you put your label in. Your labeling system is up to you. You can put HTML in there. So, like, I'll put my local stations here in New Orleans in bold. So I'll hit that B, and then I'll put, like, WWL, New Orleans. I've also started doing, like, little labels on here as well on my labels, like labels upon labels, where I put in... For instance, like I try to do both DX and local. So if I zoom in here a little bit, you'll see on each frequency, I try to have a domestic, and then I try to have a DX. So what do I hear that's US? What do I hear that's not US? Anything local, I'll put local on there and bold it. So this is just kind of my way. It really kind of, for me, what it kind of makes the most sense and kind of I can work with on kind of knowing what I've got there. So I can kind of see it quite easily. You can do up to 2, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob. You can do up to 2 stacked on top, so one on top of the other. Anything beyond that, it's not going to do it. It's going to replace one of them. When I tried it out before, did that. I have to fill the rest of this in, and I'm going to kind of reformat some of these other ones. But this format down here is what I'm kind of going with. So yeah, just right click, open DX label, put your stuff in. You can put a schedule in there if it's like a shortwave station or whatever. You can put that in, and then once you're done, hit add, and that pops it in. You can also go in here. Let's say I click on WHO here as an example. And so I'm on 1040 now. I've clicked on WHO. I right click and I can say edit last selected DX label. If I want to update this one, so I can then come in here and say domestic like that. So I can just update that, and then I hit modify once I'm done, and it updates it up there instantly. And anyone who's logged in can see that at the exact same time. So there you go. That is the DX labels in Kiwi. You got it, man. You got it. So we've been listening here on new frequencies of the week. Just went live here at the top of the hour, 1060 to 1090. That's where we're going to be spending some time in the next 7 days, listening for AM stations. If you're new to the channel or new to our live streams, we do a weekly challenge every week where we pick a group of frequencies, and everybody kind of at the same time will listen to those frequencies and notate what they hear. And we have a form that you can submit with the things that you hear from your home station using our website, dxchallenges.com. So you can go there and register, and then you can participate in the challenge as well and let us know what you're hearing. And this will allow you to go in and try to hear as many stations as you can, as many countries as you can, as many states as you can, as much as you possibly can during the course of the week on those frequencies that we're talking about.
In this case, it's 1060 kilohertz to 1090, everything in between. So even if you're not in the United States and you're in one of those countries like England where you have 1089, guess what? You can play along as well. And there is a 1089 selection on our form this week. So there you go. That is what we're kind of looking at. All right, let's go back up to 1090. Actually, let's swap over now. Let me turn this guy off here because we are out of top of the hour alert mode here. And let's turn back to our battle blue. And let's see, what did we catch here at the top of the hour on our Perseus? We haven't given the Perseus any love tonight. We've been kind of Kiwi bound all night. Let's go back and see, what did we catch here on the southeast wire at the top of the hour? I can tell you who it probably is, but let's take a look and see, shall we? So there's our saxophone from Mexico City, XECPAE. That's who we have the top of the hour here on the southeast wire on 1060. All right, now let's go to 1070 and see who do we catch. So same thing we had on the Kiwi. There's a API Birmingham coming through on the Southeast Superloop as well. Let's go back to 1080 and see, what did we catch here on 1080?
High of 80 degrees, but it's going to be cloudy through a lot of the day. Monday, a 30% chance for some showers and storms, high of 83. Right now, 74.
News Radio 1080. KRLD AM and HD, KRLD FM HD2, KJKK FM HD2, and KSPF FM HD2, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Auphonix Station.
Now that goes to show you the nullable power of these CASs and Superloops. So I don't really have the Superloop kind of dialed in for nulling on 1080 because every frequency has a different resistance value that it takes to kind of get that back end null. So I don't really have it dialed in, but you hear how loud they are on the Southeast Superloop, pointing at 125 degrees, which is kind of towards Cuba down here, right about Cha. In this general area, yeah, somewhere in here, Zuko, yeah, that's right about it. So Dallas is on the back side of that. They still came through. On the south wire, on the CAS, on the Kiwi, there wasn't a hint of KRLD. If they were there, they were mega weak. Really well in the null on that one. So that bigger antenna, it's a bigger antenna as far as like height goes. It's not as long as the Superloop is. The Superloop is 97 feet versus 72 for the CAS. This is on the bottom wire is on the ground versus the CAS is 10 feet up. Just different characteristics of the antenna as well. CAS and Superloops just perform differently. This one, KRLD's there. The other one, the CAS, they're not. So this goes back to something I've said quite a bit over the years, is that if you have the opportunity do multiple different kinds of antennas even. Let's say you put a north-south antenna on one, let's say you've got a fence, right? Typical backyard, okay? I'm not talking about the folks who live in apartments and stuff. Stand by. I'll get to you in a second. But if you have a typical backyard, let's say, you've got a nice big kind of square backyard. You got a fence over here and a fence over here and a fence on the back side, right? That's kind of the typical arrangement that most times you'll see. If you don't have a fence, maybe you kind of got a property line you can work off of, whatever. So let's say on one side it's a north-south and the other side's a north-south. Let's say on one side you put a Superloop, on the other side you put a CAS. All right, maybe they're the exact same length, exact same height, but on one you do a Superloop, one you do a CAS, because they're going to perform differently. They're going to act a little bit different. Maybe you have a little bit different view of the way the band performs on the CAS versus the Superloop. Maybe one of them you can go a little bit bigger, right? So maybe on this side of my yard over here, I can only go up to 75 feet, but over here I can go all the way to 110 because I got more room over here for whatever reason. That's what I actually have got right now. I've got a 100-foot, 97-foot Superloop, northeast, northwest, southeast on one side. If I was to do that on the other side of the yard, I can only go up to about 50 feet. Okay, so I say this because if you have the means to put more tools in your toolbox, it's only going to help you because different tools work at different times for different things. So a W6 LVP loop in the air is super handy to have And I'm going to hear things on that antenna that I do not hear on my CAS or my Superloop. I'm going to hear things on my little portable radio that I don't hear on my bigger antennas, because sometimes different antennas, different angles of these things impact them differently, right? So these signals are coming in from the sky, they're bouncing down from the sky, these different angles, like maybe they're not coming straight down, maybe they're coming in off the side like this. Different antennas pick those up differently. So I use the example, I was in Lake Forest, California. I had a W6 LVP loop and an SDR sitting there in my room, a hotel room, right? I was pointing northwest-ish. Actually, I'm sorry, I was pointing more northeast-ish, and because that's where I could null out the noise. And I had Utah on 650. Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found, KMTI. On my little portable, my little Sangean HDR14 sitting on the bed in the hotel room, pointing the same direction. There they were, loud. Nowhere to be found on the loop and the SDR, but they were there on the portable. And that taught me and reminded me of a very valuable lesson that my dad taught me a long time ago. And that is, every radio is different. Every antenna is different. They give you different views and different looks and different slices of that band at that time. And not every antenna receives signals the same way. Some like high angle, some like low angle, some like it coming in a different angle, right? So it just depends. Every radio is going to give you something different. So the more tools you give yourself in your toolbox, there's no silver bullet here, right? These big CAS antennas are great for long distance stuff. They're not so great for short end. They can sometimes be a little deaf, a little bit shorter in. Or maybe they're good for intermediate, but they're not, depending on your size, maybe they're great for certain ranges, but beyond that, they're not super great. It's just different sizes or different antennas designs and different implementations of them will do different things. So this is to say, I always see these questions online, social media. What's the best radio for this? The best antenna? There is no best, right? There is no best. There are ones that will get you, depending on your budget and your situation, there are things that will get you great results, right? But if you're looking for that one antenna or that one radio that's going to get everything that you want, you're not going to find it. You can get close. You can get some stuff that gets you a lot of really, really great stuff. And I do a lot of experimenting here to try to find that kind of balance. Okay. And then I tell you guys what I find to hopefully help you be able to decide what works best for you. That's the whole thing we do here, right? But there's no one silver bullet. There's no one perfect SDR. There's no one perfect antenna. There's no one perfect portable. It just doesn't exist. You're not going to go out there and find that one silver bullet that just gets you everything you're looking for. What you're looking for are different things, right? Maybe you want to hear more domestics. Maybe you want to hear more on the graveyard, so you don't need a lot of amplification. You want to back that RF gain down a little bit and let the things just kind of come to you. So you don't need a big active antenna. You need something more passive, maybe. Maybe a good directionality to it, so you can kind of turn that antenna to different directions and try different things on the graveyard frequencies. Maybe you're looking for Latin America like I am. I'm a Latin America fiend. So my antenna designs are very much driven for what can I get from Latin America. Anything else? Meh, it's a side product. It's a benefit. But Latin America is my number one focus as a DXer. That's me. Maybe you're looking for more transatlantic stuff or trans-Pacific stuff. You're going to have different antennas and different radios that do that for you better than other things. So examine what's best for you. What are you trying to do? And then try to give yourself as many tools as you can in your toolbox to do that. And you're going to be a successful DXer. And that's what we preach here at DX Central, is do what's best for you. Don't listen to me and what I do. Now, if you're trying to hear Latin American stations, I can tell you some really great stories about some great antennas and SDRs that'll help you do that. And in a general sense, I tend to tell folks, look, SDRs are the way to go, because you can maximize your DX with those SDRs compared to what you could ever do with any other format. But not everybody can afford that. Not everybody can put those into play, because then you have to have an antenna for that SDR. Well, not everyone can do an antenna. Some folks can do a W6 LVP loop, and that's a fantastic. I logged a ton of DX on those things. Still do. You can do great things with it. And you can hear well, like I was hearing into Latin America on my W6 LVP loop, but I wanted to try some different stuff, try different antennas, see what I could do with bigger antennas and more developed antennas. And it's given me some great results. Would I've gotten that without those? And maybe not, I don't know. It's all about experimenting. It's all about trying it out.
And that's one of the things that we believe here at DX Central. Try it out. Try those different tools out and see if that tool gets you the DX you're looking for. And if so, keep that sucker in your toolbox. Right? All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to do some more live DX. We're going to really focus in on some DX. We got some more shout outs to get to, another round of shout outs. But really, we're going to spend most of the rest of our night DXing because it's so much fun to do and we have great conditions. So why not? So with that in mind, don't go anywhere, my friends. More live DX is heading your way right here on DX Central.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, and happy Friday evening to you all, my friends. Hope you are having a great night, great week, great weekend of DX heading your way. Yeah, just right over here. Let me shine the light on it here so you guys can see. Got a Hallicrafters S120 I bought for Dad for Christmas a few years back because he had this one when he was a kid. So I bought that for him several Christmases ago, and it sat up in the shack there in Brasstown for a while, and he would use it every once in a while and plug it in. And now it's here in my shack, and I want to find a way to get that up and running and put an antenna on that and let the signals flow in, make it part of my DX assortment, my toolkit. Because you never know, maybe it might get me something that some of these other ones don't. Who knows? Let's do some shout outs here because we got quite a few to get to, and I want to make sure that we have a chance to get to everyone. So make sure you get your shout outs in on the submission form, and we'll read them here on the air. New countries, new logs, new states, new Louisiana, new Wisconsin, new Canadian provinces, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Jacob, I have a Drake R8 now, what we inherited here. Now I've got a Drake R8, Drake SPR4. I've got my ICOM R72 still sitting up here that I used to use back in the day. I got a Kenwood R2000 up in the attic. We got several desktop radios, and I want to find a way to incorporate some of those into, especially the Drake, into the remodeled shack that we do this spring here next month. I want to find a way, or in May, I want to find a way to incorporate that into the workflow a bit. But the SDRs, man, it's just such an easy way to do it. So nice. I have an RF3100 Panasonic sitting out in my workshop. I need to do a little work on and get it back up and running. So got a lot of gear, but keep going back to the SDRs, man. The SDRs are just where it's at. It takes care of everything and gets us the results that we need. So why would I change it up? Shout out time! You got it, man. All right, now we're tuned up there on the old Horn of Victory, the Van Horn of Victory. We got several now shout outs who have come in here since our last round. So let's go ahead and start with our friend Mike. Mexico Mike J got 4 new logs this week, including, so we'll go ahead and do that real quick. 4 new logs. Saw a little log action. Yes, sir. All right, got 40 logs, including. Man, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. I got the big pride feels right now, Mike. I really do. Because, A, you got Ecuador, man. And that to me is just, anytime I see somebody get a new station from down south of the border, especially if it's a new country for them, I get the big proud feels. But when it's Radio Monumental on 1510 out of Ecuador, it's even more special because that's my station, man. That is my go-to every single night when I sit down in IDX. One of the first things I do is I go scope out 1510, and I go back and check it out a couple times over the course of the night because that's my beacon. That is my number one beacon. If they're coming in on 1510, then I know I've got a shot at all the other stuff in Colombia and Venezuela, into Central America. If I can hear Ecuador on 1510 underneath WLAC, I'm doing good. I got good conditions. If they're on top like they were last night, I know I need to look even deeper into South America, and that's why I was able to spot last night Peru coming in. Because Radio Monumental is just, they are my, I love listening to them. I listen to them, their live stream sometimes, just bouncing around the house with my earpods in, because I love the music. I actually downloaded the playlist on my phone. Oh man, the other day of Ecuadorian music, because Ecuadorian and Peruvian music is my absolute favorite from Latin America. There we go. So, Mike got himself Radio Monumental, in case you couldn't tell. Got himself Radio Monumental 1510 out of Ecuador for a brand new country. So we are stamping the passport. And we've got the pride, the proudness for our friend Mike down in Mexico. Mexico Mike J got himself Ecuador, and I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. That is. When I saw that the other day, I had a big smile across my face, man. So happy for you, man. Good job. David Harden, Warner Robins, Georgia, made it a goal to log a new station on 970. Wouldn't rest until he found one. Well, guess what? Tonight he did. WBGG in Philadelphia, despite having 2 stations in Georgia that he can't hear, did get WBGG in, where is that? That's Philly, right? Yeah. That's Pittsburgh. Sorry, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So got himself to be BGG in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania here tonight on 970. Was like, dang it, I'm gonna set a goal. I'm gonna hear something on 970, and he was persistent and he kept at it. And David got himself the BGG in Pittsburgh on 970. So my friend, we give you the new log and the Horn of Victory. Congratulations. I am a big believer in setting goals for yourself on the AMDX season. Got a video talking about it here on the channel, on the YouTube channel. We'll probably talk about as we get closer into the end of this DX Central Live season. I'm going to talk about goals and kind of what to look for to setting goals for the upcoming AM season in the fall. And then I'll tell you when we get back in the fall what my goals are for the year. I am a huge believer in setting goals for yourself and just giving yourself motivation, giving yourself something to shoot for rather than just trying to add one more to the logbook. It can be like this year, it was I want to add a new state, and I got Washington, and I also got somebody else, South Dakota. It can be I want to add a new country, Argentina was there, right? I want to add a Canadian province. There was British Columbia, there was Manitoba, right? So just going out there and setting a goal for yourself. I wanted to add 150 new stations to the logbook this year. Got it done. And so when you give yourself something to shoot for, it's really amazing the results you can get out of that. So bravo to you for setting goals and for achieving them, my friend. And that also means you also do, since you got a goal, you set a goal and you got the goal, we're giving you the goal. Because that is freaking awesome. Good job, my friend. I don't know the lung capacity to pull that off. Haley, Boot Crew North, Star City, Arkansas, heard XEFZ, ABC Deportes, San Nicolas de los Garza, Nuevo Leon at 9:49 UTC on the 23rd of March. That's a new log and New Mexican State for Haley. Also some new logs this week, KFEQ 680 St. Joseph and WXQW 660 in Fairhope. So let's start with those logs. And get those in there. And because of Nuevo Leon now being in your log, my friend, yes sir. Oh, nope. That's the button I wanted to get rid of. Okay, there we go. Good job, Haley. Welcome. Well done, my friend. Well done. Dennis, who has been tearing it up the last several weeks with the DX that he's been pulling in. Hit 940 loggings this week, so very well done. We'll give you the nice big yes, sir. And of those, he also then exceeded 940 with WAMO in Williamsburg, Pennsylvania on 660. WDYZ also on 660 out of Altamont Springs, Florida. And had 680 WCNN in North Atlanta, Georgia. There you go. Now 942. Well done, Dinas. Right behind you there, man. 906, 907 now? 908? 908. Yep, 908 now. Our friend Sean Kutsko, Champaign, Illinois. What did Sean do this week? Well, you got 5 new ones this week. 13 stations logged for the week on the frequency challenge frequencies, including 4 new ones, and then also another one outside of the frequency range as well, looks like. So XEFZ San Nicolas de los Garza, ABC Deportes, 1,211 miles on 660. Radio Progreso, 650 Havana, 1,380 miles. WMIC, Sandusky, Michigan on 660. That's 386 miles for him, 1 kilowatt day timer. And 660 WESC in Greenville, South Carolina, 481 miles. So my friend Sean gets himself some solid logs. You got it, man. You got it. Good job. Also snagged, I forgot to mention this one, also snagged to be LRV 1380 in Lebanon, Virginia, with religious and gospel music. 1200 Zulu, 30 minutes past sunrise. That's a 1 kilowatt day timer for 399 miles. So we'll give you that extra one there too. For your non-challenge frequencies log for the week. And this didn't take long. Already on our new challenge frequencies, Walter Johnson in Albany, Georgia has himself a new one with 1060 KYW Philly at approximately 8:47, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Well done, my friend. All right, that clears out the cache of the cache if we're going to be classy here. That clears out the cache of the submitted logging submissions, the shout outs. So we have a fully open bunker here, man. You can fill back our file folders with some more shout outs. So get those in on the shout out form. And we're going to get those read here. We have one more round that we'll do here after the top of this next hour, and we'll get you in there as well. So if we have any late attendees or anyone who hasn't gotten their shout out yet, don't be shy. Don't be shy. We want to pat you on the back for your good stuff that you're hearing. Get those submissions put in, and we'll get you a shout out here. And maybe someone's got to cut the cheese. No one's cut the cheese yet. No one's got a new state yet. Let's see what else we're missing. Canadian province. We haven't let the moose loose in a bit. I'm feeling a little sad that we haven't had a moose sighting. So anybody get themselves a new Canadian province? Maybe we can get that. We're gonna get him over there. Let's do a real quick talk before we get back to the DX. I want to spend most of the rest of the time here DXing because we haven't had great conditions for that lately. So let's do mostly DX here. Let's talk really quickly about spring clean. So it's that time of the year. A lot of you are starting to ramp down your AMDX efforts. I understand. I don't subscribe to that myself. I'm a year rounder. But I would like to see more of you do that. But I understand if you're going to transition, you can really want to focus in your efforts on FMDX or other ventures. That's totally fine. So let's talk about some spring cleaning, whether you're tearing some stuff down and transitioning, or let's say like me, I'm going to be going out and doing some checks on my antennas and things like that. So what are we looking for? We're looking for any kind of damage to our feed lines. We're looking for any kind of damage to the antenna itself. I'm going to be doing some inspection on my mini whip because it's currently down on the ground because my rope broke last week. So I got to get it back up in the air. So that's a whole story. So let's do some spring cleaning. First, start with our antenna. So go outside, check your connections, check your feed lines, make sure there's no squirrels chewing on your feed lines at all. Check your connections, make sure there's no water egress getting into your connections. Make sure those are still nice and sealed. If you haven't done so, you want to get on that because rainy season is going to be here soon for a lot of folks. Make sure those are nice and tight and still nicely connected. I've got a W6 LVP loop. It's got a loose connection. I got to work on that. So make sure you check out your antennas. Look for any kind of problems. If you have rotors for your loops and things like that, check your rotors. Make sure they're all working. The wiring is all good. Look on your actual, if you have like wire antennas like I do, make sure you go out and check those and check the conditions of those. Do you have any branches about to fall on them? Do you have any branches currently on them? Things like that. So look at your antennas and give them a good once over. Maybe if you have the opportunity, if you have like I try to do on most of mine, I try to the ones that are up in the trees, put them on pulleys so I can easily pull those back down and do a little maintenance on them, check everything out. Maybe you want to take this opportunity like I might be doing this summer. I've got some pretty thin wire on my northwest southeast loop. I think I might want to replace it with some thicker 14 gauge wire. So I might be doing that this spring and summer. On my FM antenna, my 9 element Yagi, I know I've got one element that's kind of bent. It hit a tree limb the other day and during a windstorm. So I got to get that bent back out into shape and hopefully I don't snap that element. So we'll take a look at that. I want to do some work on one of my omnidirectional antennas. So just go out and do an assessment of where you're at with your antennas. Make sure to see if there's any maintenance you need to do on them, any feed line replacement that you might need to do. Go ahead and take stock of that now. Then once you're done with the outside piece, because that's really the most important, because that's what brings in the signals, now it's time to come inside. Don't forget to clean your computer out, my friends. I'm going to be doing that when I do my remodel of the shack here. Open up, if you have a laptop even, if you can get into the laptop itself, but if you have one of the towers or kind of mid towers, you can open up the case, get in there with that duster, man, get all that dust out. This is the perfect time to clean all that stuff. If you do have a laptop and you can't get inside, at least blow the fans vents nice and free. We don't want that dust clogging in there and then your computer going down in the critical moment when there's awesome conditions. So take this time right now to go in and make sure there's no cat hair, no dog hair, no people hair, no dust in your computers. Make sure you're checking all of your connections for your USB connections, your monitors, all that kind of stuff. Make sure everything is looking good. If you need to replace any of those, now is the time to do it before we get into hot stuff DX season and you're trying to do all this on the fly when there's an e-skip opening happening, right? So let's check our computers. Let's make sure they're all looking good. Let's make sure we check all of our connections, our SDRs. Let's take them and unplug those guys. And if you can open those up, if you have the ability, maybe double check, make sure they're nice and clean on the inside. At the very, very least, if you don't want to open those up, You don't have to like on AirSpire or one of those, but at the very least, let's go in there and make sure we give those antenna connectors a nice little clean with a little light bit of sandpaper or some steel wool. Get those a nice little bit clean on our connector so we have a nice connection coming in our feed lines. I'm also going to be checking my window panel, making sure all those connections are nice and secure and tight, making sure my bulkheads are tightened down nicely with the washers and the nuts and everything. Check your power supplies. Please, 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 please check your power supplies. If you have a power strip, like a surge protector power strip that you're using to power some of your devices in your shack, I implore you to double check that sucker. And if you have the means at all to do it, just go ahead and replace it. I don't care if it's working perfectly. I have had too many stories that I have seen over the years of hams who didn't know that their surge protector was faulty, and then they had a fire in their shack. Please, if you have the means to replace those out, not a terrible idea just to do that every once in a while. I'm actually considering that as part of my remodel this year, replacing some of my power strips. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see what kind of condition I can see when they get in there. If you have any kind of battery backup, maybe you want to check the battery supply, your battery condition on those battery backups if you have any of those that are in play. Check your internet connections. Like I've got a little Wi-Fi or Ethernet splitter here in the shack that I use to bring everything in. I'm gonna have to make sure I check my Wi-Fi or my Wi-Fi. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with that. My Ethernet cables, make sure they're all looking good. I'm gonna go up in the attic where I have those Ethernet cables running through and make sure no little critters got up in there over the winter and chewed on those Ethernet cables or any of the antennas I have up in my attic. So I'm going to be doing that. So just a little spring cleaning will go a long way to getting you prepared for whether it's the upcoming FM season or the later AM season that you might be getting to, whatever it is you're about to transition to. This is a great time to do it. Finally, your logbook. Make sure you go through. Did you maybe enter a login and for a station you already had logged? Maybe you want to do a little cleanup in there. Make sure your totals are looking good. Make sure all your numbers and your stats are all accurate, right? Make sure that everything is lining up, that you didn't fat finger a frequency or something like that when you typed it in. I found a couple of those recently. Make sure that everything looks good and tidy on your logbook, because that way you can start nice and fresh when you do start AM/DXing again if you're taking a break or you go into the next season ready to roll. So this is the time, this is a fantastic time to do a little spring cleaning in our DX world on antennas, our gear, our computers, our power sources, our logbooks, and just make sure everything is copacetic and ready to go for a great, great DX season ahead. All right. There you go. All righty. So let's get to some DX here. I am jonesing to hear some Peru. I want it. Let's go back to our big Kiwi here and see what we can find. We all talking about teas. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything. All right, we're about 17 minutes away from top of the hour time frame. Yeah, try to get the best quality power strips and surge protectors and things like that you can get. Some of those surge protectors, they're built to fail in any kind of surge situation, and that basically sends some of the electrical current to the case, to the plastic, which melts and causes fires. I saw a ham on a YouTube video talking about that recently, and it scared the crap out of me. So I'm going to be doing some pretty thorough check of my surge protectors and my power sources here in the shack to make sure everything is good to go. I think the ones that I have are pretty good from what I can tell, but I'll double check and make sure. So here we are on 1090. me see if I can get an angle here. Oh! I think I hear him. Let's go look at the live stream right now and see if that's him preaching right now. I hear his voice. I recognize that voice anywhere. That's him.
Gloria a Dios, gloria a Dios, gloria a Dios. Tú tienes ministros en todo lugar, Señor. Ora por tus siervos, Señor, mi Dios.
Listen to this very closely.
Son tuyos, Señor. Aleluya, aleluya, aleluya. Gloria a Dios, gloria a Dios, gloria a Dios.
That right there sticks out like a sore thumb. So let's go listen. Listen. Headphones if you need them. He's there. Peru. Go get him, guys. He's there. Just writing that down so I don't forget that when I do my logs. I do. That now. Here, let's look at this. Here's Lloyd. Here's Peru. So I do have this bit of water here and a bit of water in here, but there is still some land to get through. Some pretty treacherous land in some cases. But I do have some good water path. I had water path as well in Charleston, but I had to get through Florida and Central America and Cuba to get to them when I was in Charleston, but I had them there. They're definitely in there though. Again, we go to the stream.
Gloria a Dios, gloria a Dios, gloria a Dios. Ora por Lima, Señor. Por la ciudad de Lima, Padre Santo. Por la iglesia pentecostal, la cosecha en Lima. Aleluya, aleluya, aleluya. Ahí estamos, Señor, en la ciudad.
Gloria, gloria, gloria. And then the hallelujah, hallelujah. You hear that constantly with this guy. He is very, very monotone with that, but he's very consistent. He does those on a regular. It sticks out like a sore thumb. Weak. He's in there. A couple of things about these guys. They used to be reported, and I used to hear them at 1089.976. That's where I always saw their offset. They were reported on 8.6 recently, or I guess they have been reported on 8.6, 9.86. I haven't seen that offset at all. Like I'm looking right now on my waterfall on the Perseus, and I'm well, let me rephrase this. Let me go back and double check. Let's look on the southeast loop.
He might be in there on that one. I see nothing on the waterfall. I see nothing on the waterfall for him. No sign of that 976. It'd be in here, and it's just not there. That is to say, I don't know. There used to be a clear indicator they were coming in was their offset. They may not be on that offset anymore. They may be closer in. This could be them here at 02, although I think the 02 is a Colombian, if I remember right. But that the best time to hear them, they seem to be better a lot of times in upper sideband than lower for some reason. And when they do like music, and sometimes he'll go in, he'll do interview with people in the crowd, or in the congregation rather. So you'll hear like females talking or children talking, things like that. But when they do music or any of that other stuff, they tend to kind of fade out a little bit. But his voice cuts through. I want to find a way to use his voice for DX tests in the future, because his voice cuts through like a knife.
DX Central Live is brought to you.
Let's go back again.
Gloria a Dios. Da gloria a Dios, da gloria a Dios. Todos orando.
This is his Super Bowl right here this weekend. I don't hear him right now. Sometimes if we go to SAS, I don't hear him anymore in there. If he is, he's like mega crazy weak. I don't hear him anymore right now in there, but he was definitely in there. I mean, you guys heard. So that's a target to go for. My Mexico mics. Give it a shot. I mean, you're closer than any of us, right? So you might have a better shot than some of the rest of us might. So definitely give it a go. See if you can pull them out. They are a 2 kilowatt station. 2 kilowatts. Tumbes, Peru. It's right there on the border of Ecuador. Okay. Let me go back to my Perseus and my map. I know we're coming up on top of the hour here in about 4 minutes or so. So let's look at it again on the map. Here's Radio Vision. This is Peru here. Here's Ecuador. Ecuador is a tiny itty bitty little country here. Right here. It's right there. I mean, it's that little bit of Peru that kind of comes up right there next to Ecuador. I wish I could zoom in. I haven't really figured out how to do that in a controllable way on Jaguar, but that's where they are right there, right on the northwest corner of Peru, southwest side of Ecuador. 2,000 watts. Just I got the bumps. I got the chill bumps. Every time I hear these guys.
Oro para eterno, para celestial, para la iglesia pentecostal en Jaén, en Guarmán.
He's back. He's back in. He's back. I hear him better on the SAS now. In my right ear. That does sound like a Catholic mass. And I wonder who that is. There is a Colombian, Radio Maria. See, he's singing now. I don't hear him. Here we go. Send to the master player. Hallelujah. I was going to say, even stations in Latin America that don't normally carry religious content, be ready for it. You're going to hear some religious services happening on some of these stations that don't normally carry it. Just because it's Good Friday and Easter weekend. Alright, so we did hear the Peruvian. I really want to know who that is with the mass. But we're going to come back.
Aprovecha las bonificaciones y descuentos de tu municipio y ponte al corriente con tu pago de predial.
Descarga la Lankford-Misek, ingresa mediante tu bus y experimenta la comodidad de pagar tu predial en segundos. Ingresa al portal sstia.edomexico.gov.mx/predial. Descarga tu formato y paga en línea o en más de 3,000 lugares con horarios accesibles. Más información llama al número de atención al contribuyente 800-715-4350. Estado de México.
Autor de escritos relacionados con la Revolución Mexicana.
En uno de sus textos afirma que
I can't imagine KAAY doing a Catholic mass, right? I'm pretty sure that was in Spanish, so it's kind of pointless for me to even bring that up, but I can't imagine them doing anything like that. I'm back on 1090 now. I gotta find a way to mount that sucker up here. Or metal or something to mount that on. Yeah. Of course they fade. And Cuba is not known for Catholic programming at any rate at all. Adios, David. 33, my friend. Good luck. We're getting more domestic stuff now. And this will come in waves. Where we get a lot of this domestic, and then back down south. Hey, Bench. Good luck, man. You got this. That tech exam, you got this. Can't wait to call your call sign, man. There's XEHR. That was clear. I said this and sushi hasn't been on late because I haven't seen a lot of complaints, and then when they do, they're on late. So is that Mexico mic, guys? No, never mind. I still hear HR in there, but that's not them with the mask. And then they're gone. But that's HR coming back in. XCHR kind of coming back to the top there. I don't think that was them with the mask. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, because I heard them simultaneously.
Como todos sabemos, pues en todas las iglesias del mundo, el día de hoy no se celebra la Santa Misa, pero sí acompañamos a Jesús en este momento de sufrimiento y en este momento en que ha entregado, y recordamos esa entrega de su vida al Señor. A través de este programa.
Okay, it is okay. I wondered about that because I was hearing, maybe they were doing the mask while they were talking, so I heard them simultaneous. So that made me think maybe it wasn't them, but that is them. Okay, that's good to know. So see, again, a station that I traditionally I have not been hearing in my research the last couple of days. I haven't been hearing any religious content on XEHR. So I don't know if that's typically their format. I would assume probably not. But here they are, Easter weekend, with some religious content on. So maybe something to look for. I mean, I know like New Year's Eve, Latin American DX it's fantastic. And I'll be doing it again this year, I hope, for New Year's Eve this next fall or winter. down looking down south, especially on this big antenna. But this is another one of those great times for Latin American DX. You can hear some things that are unique that you don't normally get to hear, and they might help you kind of pull in and identify those Latin American stations, hopefully a bit easier. So let's go back now. So we've been sitting on 1090. We heard 1080. We heard XE. No, we didn't hear the ID from the XETUL. Let's go back down here to 1080 though, real quick. Oh, yeah, I think we did. Yeah. Mike says religious shows due to Holy Week. Is KRLD? There's Dave Ramsey on KRLD. With the Baker Street. I've got a Spanish station that's probably XCTUL. It almost sounds like the same one on XCHR. Are they running something national? To test my theory. No. I think one of them is. I don't know who that is with the jazz sounding music. It could be Cadena Havana. We got Peru tonight, guys. We got Peru! I have two Spanish stations in there now. I'm almost certain that one with the piano is going to be Cuba. They're on the northwest side of the island, which I've got a straight shot at. That seems like that'd be them. Let's go 1070. I'll go back to 1080. It sure does. And I think the guy talking, lower register talking, I think that's the station that was the piano. El Salvador? No way. CRET? You serious? Which El Salvador? San Miguel or San Salvador? I guess they're probably running the same thing. The woman talking right now.
Once upon a time, using más ni menos con Rachel and the Carlos and John White. Ya después que no más adelante, con alguna pieza.
Let's get some confirmation on that, because that would be a new one for me here in El Salvador.
Regresamos con más aquí en la Sinfonola de Mexiquense Radio. Comuníquense, díganos cómo están. Venimos. La Sinfonola. Life could be dream, life could be dream.
That's XETUL right there.
Bendito, tú eres grande, eres poderoso, Padre. Oh, bendito Dios.
That sure sounds like
A dar, bendito Dios, esa fuerza, ese vacío, Padre bendito, no lo pueden llenar palabras, bendito Dios. Poderoso, bendito Dios, para ti no hay nada imposible, bendito Dios, tú.
That's gotta be her. That's gotta be. I'm on the Kiwi right now. I don't have the backup on the Kiwi. Let me see. I'm gonna check on the Perseus really quick.
That's gonna make you okay, Rachel. You don't have to worry about it. That's exactly what I should do. I just no going out, no eating.
You know what I mean? Over life, and you're used to living that kind of.
Because anytime you got the year from, you only got 27.
I don't hear her on the Kiwi or the Perseus, but it's also pointing southeast, where this is pointing right at El Salvador-ish. Let's go ahead and...
Una de la madrugada, bendito Dios, ella se levanta.
That sounds like her. She's still in there, weak. It's especially hard to hear now that XETUL is doing music. All right, let's get the music out of here. That's her. That's her. Yes. Oh, that's the new El Salvador. Thank you, Barry. And everyone else who helped out there. Thank you. Oh, come on. Okay, let's get rid of these. Let's try to see if we can null them out a little bit here.
Bendito Dios, creemos en ti, bendito Dios, alabar.
It really is, Barry. That Kiwi is this antenna. Let me pause it for a second. This antenna is probably the best install I've ever done. Actually, let's leave that on because that's the alert for the DX. It's probably the best install I've ever done, and it's massive. I mean, it's 72 feet long, which is pretty big. I mean, it could be bigger, but it's still pretty big. But it's just crushing it. I don't know if having it off the ground, it's so quiet. This is way quieter than any antenna I have here at the house, right? I don't know if having it 10 feet off the ground like that is making a difference in how quiet. I don't know. This is the first time I've ever tried a Kiwi or a Kaz antenna off ground. All my other Kaz's, other one of them, the base wire was 1 foot off the ground. Every single one. This is the first time I've ever done one where, and I wanted to make sure that, the base wire wasn't in the way for like mowing the grass or mom out in their backyard or doing, her things or whatever. I wanted it to be something that was overhead and completely unobtrusive. So you don't have to think about it. So I had the plenty of vertical distance I could use to get it high as I wanted to. I mean, I was at 60 feet at one point. So I was like, let's get it 10 feet off the ground. So I don't know if that's part of why it's so quiet. It is so quiet on that Kiwi. Let's go back and see. Yeah, that's her. You're right. It's the same timbre and pitch, and it's the same cadence. Firing off of the words is the same cadence. Yeah. See you, Sean. Take care. Get some rest, my friend. Oh, I'm okay. There we go. See you, Dennis. That's a mind blower for me, guys. I did not see that coming, and they're only 1.5 kilowatt, 1.5 kilowatts. So this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Don't assume because they're a weaker station, you're not going to have a shot at them, because you heard how loud she got at one point at 1.5 kilowatts. She'll probably come back at some point. So, yeah, that's actually a really good point, Bill, is to try that out. I might bring in, I have an extra AirSpy and an extra RSPDX, and I might just try plugging those in and doing a direct comparison there on site to see if they're as good as just the Kiwi on its own. My assumption is going to be that it's 95% the antenna. Is my assumption. I mean, you see the signal to noise ratio right now is a 35 dB. And that is much better than it had been when I had the antenna. I had the antenna bigger. It was too big. So I'm pretty sure 95 or more of that is the antenna. But I do think it's worthwhile doing some testing on that to see if that same antenna on like a Perseus might net some better results, or on the RSPDX or the AirSpy, right? Just to play with it and kind of see. So I might have to do that at some point. All right, so I think I can't top that, guys. I can't top a new El Salvador station and Peru in one night. I can't top that. So we're gonna go ahead and let me do one more check of the shout outs and see if we have any new ones. We don't. I don't have a lot of my own, so we're just gonna do this really quick before we wrap up and adjourn, and see what we might have gotten this week. Outside of what you just saw, 2 new stations, both in Florida. And have not heard them since I was in Charleston, but 790 WAXY at South Miami, got them this week, and 670 WWFE. Believe it or not, under Rebelity, I didn't think I could ever pierce the Rebelity wall, but there under Rebelity was another different Spanish station, and it was Miami. It was La Poderosa there in Miami. So we'll go ahead and give ourselves a little log action. All right. Like to see a comparison between other SDRs and the Kiwi. That sounds like a video. All right, my friends. Let's go ahead and adjourn for tonight. 1060 to 1090. That's where we're gonna be this week. On the AM dial, on the FM dial, we got some Tropo, like Bill says, maybe moving in. So we'll cross our fingers. Some Tropo heading this way this weekend and this coming week. Hopefully we'll get some of that. If not, no worries. Take care, my friends. It's been a pleasure. I always love these streams. I'm not looking forward to the end of it. I never do. I always hate the end of the season, but look forward to retooling and getting ready for the next season. So 5 episodes left after now, and we'll be wrapping up this season. So hope to see you guys along the way. Take care, my friends. Best of DX to you. Let's see if you can get some of this cool stuff. Get you Peru. Go get you El Salvador. Take care, my friends. 73, best of DX.
que son nuevas.
This is